Hello, I'm Lauren, the Awkward Plant Girl. Welcome back to my channel. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you guys for popping in. So when I moved my plants outside, I ended up finding a whole bunch of plants that needed some love and care and had just been neglected for a while. I still have some, still working on it. Gonna make other videos on that. But for today, I wanted to go over what I did to take care of those plants, how I handled some problems, why the problems happened in the first place, and I wanted to give you 3-week updates on them. So that's kind of what's going on right now, and let's get into it. First up, we have this leggy Syngonium albo. It was on the plants on boards, kept drying out. It needs a repot, and it got thrips and spider mites, and the coloration is beautiful. It's kept the gorgeous variegation. I love it so much. Look at these leaves. Definitely gonna chop this up, and we'll probably do some nodes, and I'll take a top cut for sure. That's gonna be beautiful, just potted up. And then we'll put it directly on a pole and we won't have this leggy issue anymore. Syngonium propagate really well in water, so I'm definitely going to take a top cut and put it in this vase. And we're just going to chop this whole thing up. The bottom will definitely regrow. I just don't know what size leaf it's going to give me. It does have to be cleaned up a little bit more, and I'll repot it eventually. I gave it a systemic a while ago though, so hopefully we won't have any more pest problems with it. Maybe spider mites will stick around, but the thrips should be gone. We shall see. Next, after that, we're just going to get to chopping, and we want to make sure that every single piece has a node. Most of you already know this, but just in case you're new to plants and you don't, a node is where you see the little roots sticking out, and you just want to kind of cut in between those. This we're going to cut into little tiny nodes, but this one right here, we're just going to kind of make sure that there is a good node and a leaf for every single stem, and that's going to make for easier water propagation. It's going to grow more quickly. I do need to get rid of this dead leaf though, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. It's already pretty gone, so it's easily removed from the node right there. And it's even got a little new growth under there coming out, it looks like, so this is going to pop off really well. And then I think I'm just going to try to maybe 2 leaves on this one. I don't know. Yeah, we'll just do 2 leaves on that one, and then this is what's called a top cut, where it's just the very tippy top of the plant, and because this is multiple leaves, it's going to grow really quick in this vase. And it's going to look really pretty too. Like, sometimes it's nice when you propagate plants and just have them looking beautiful at the same time. And thrifted glass vessels are totally the way to go. So if you haven't been thrifting glass vessels, definitely go do that. And then these I'm going to put in another little jar. And then this is just how you chop in between all of the nodes. It can be a little time consuming. They'll grow tiny leaves and be very slow, but it's totally worth it. And then you can have backup plants just in case things don't work out. Generally, taller jars work better, but we're just going to contain these in this little baby jar for right now. I've got to go clean one downstairs, and I'm just not doing that right now. So that's where we're at with that. And then let's do a propagation box. Super easy. I've already had this one pre-made up. Just drop the nodes in. It's perlite sphagnum moss. Super, super easy. Just make sure it seals well and has good humidity for your plants. And then here's what the Syngonium albo looks like today. Here it is. It's beautifully rooted. It's doing an amazing job. I absolutely love it. The only problem I'm having with it is that it still seems to have retained pests. It did put out a new leaf and it looks like it was eaten by spider mites or possibly baby thrips. Can't really tell. There's no webbing, but the damage is very similar for the two. So until I see an actual mature specimen, I don't know. Unfortunately, because for new growth, the damage is the same. It's just kind of withered away right here, and you can see that parts of it have dried off as it was starting to unfurl. So I am going to have to pot this up and give it a systemic, and then I will spray some stuff on it and treat the pests that way, and hopefully that'll be enough to get rid of the pests. But it has rooted beautifully. In 3 weeks. It's ready to be completely potted up. Honestly, I could have potted it up sooner. So, and then we'll also give this a pull, but that's for another video. So, and then this other syngonium that I had put in the water rooted, but not as quickly, but it did push out new growth, much smaller new growth, but that makes sense because it was a mid cut, not a top cut. And then also this new growth is not damaged in any way. So these might be more viable plants than the other one, depending on whether I can get the pests under control or not, or maybe there just isn't enough pests on here to do relevant damage yet. I don't know. Last but not least, the bottom cut. People are always worried that the bottom cuts are going to produce really, really tiny leaves. That is not the case with the Syngonium albo. It has gone ahead and made almost the same size leaf as when I chopped it. So maybe just a tiny bit smaller and no pests on this so far. So far so good with this. I think chopping it up was definitely the right idea. And now I have multiple plants to go from and the base is doing really well. And we're just going to keep on trucking with this and I'll keep you updated as best as possible. This poor Rhaphidophora Hay, oh my goodness. I tried to grow it up the boards. It did not work. And it grew really fast sometimes and really slow other times. So I never knew when to come up and tape it to the board. And it wouldn't attach on its own without taping it to the board. So you can see where like the leaves were really small and then they got bigger. And it's a weird plant. It's a shingling plant, so it has to attach. You see how it's on the boards right there. It's very interesting. So what I'm going to have to do is just chop it back, see how it grows. I don't know if it'll divide or if it'll grow small leaves next or big leaves next. I don't know what it's going to do. It's not really attached here, so I don't know. We're just going to play this by ear. This is the first time that I've chopped up a Rhaphidophora Hay. So this is an experiment and I just want to see how it kind of recovers and then I'll repot it from there. But for right now, we're just going to deal with this mess that's on the other board. And I just use Scotch tape to attach these to the boards and normally it works out pretty well, but unfortunately my humidifier broke and 50% humidity was just not enough for these to really attach to the board on their own. And it grew really quickly. It grew right off the board, but it just wouldn't stay attached. And every time I didn't attach it, the leaves got smaller again. So it was a back and forth game. And then add in the thrips and spider mite damage, and it was just a grand old ball. So I'm going to chop all of these up. I'm doing different sizes and whatnot of them, trying to remove as many damaged leaves as possible. These little tiny leaves are so freaking adorable, though. They're going to look great in little terrariums. I am excited to prop all of these. And they're going to make a really cool backdrop in some terrariums too. It's just going to be really fun. But I do want to make sure that they are all completely done with being, pest infested. And we'll go from there. The propagation method I chose is perlite in a scrapbooking box. It's my go-to method. It's worked really well for Monstera and Hoya. So I'm hoping Rhaphidophora, it's going to be the same. And I'm just making sure that there's root contact. And I'm hoping this is going to grow quick when I shove it in some good light. And I will let you know. Let me know down in the comments which plant you think is going to root and prop the fastest. Because it's always interesting to see with so many different kinds of plants which ones grow fast and which ones grow slow and what their methods are. And then here's that Rhaphidophora Hay. It's actually got some new growth on the back here. So what this one does when it gets chopped is it goes back a couple of nodes and then produces new growth, which is really cool. And it's got the same thing on the other side as well. So we've got it on both sides, which is really cool. Both ended up branching off. They do make smaller leaves though, but since what I chopped off at the end was smaller anyway, it makes sense. I do need to get it a new board now that it's manageable, so we'll be taking care of that soon as well. Next up, we have a Monstera siltepecana. These leaves are gorgeous. I absolutely love them. They're so beautiful. Unfortunately, though, the thrips love to kill off new growth on this plant. They really do, and that just makes it look terrible. It did root in this perlite and sphagnum moss pole, and it grew really quickly. It just kept losing leaves. So I'm definitely going to have to chop and prop it and just redo this whole thing, unfortunately. And it's still going to grow back really quickly. I think I'm going to fill in the bottom as well. We'll have some extra nodes and I'll extend the pole eventually. And I do need to keep this more watered. I totally let it dry out way too often. And the bare nodes, I'm going to be propping and making little sticks for them, and that'll be fine. To hide how bare these stems are, I am going to be propping some of these cuttings at the base of this plant, and then hopefully it'll make the pole look more full and bushy, and it's going to look really, really nice, I think. I think it's going to look great. I'm just using a stick to kind of poke a hole, and then I'm making sure that there's 1 to 3 nodes with a leaf attached. For the Monstera siltepecana, it's actually produced a little bit of new growth here. It's fully rooted in the pot. It's got a new leaf coming in here, and then it's got a bunch of new growth up here as well. So, and I need to water this pole, but it's actually doing really well. I think chopping it, propping it this way is going to make it a lot more full. I might go back and do some cakey paste on these to get more new growth, but I wanted to make sure it was fully established in the pot before I started messing around with any of that. So we'll be working on this more. These are all project plants. They're not going to be, you know, ready right away, but you know, this is 3 weeks worth of new growth. And if you're new into plants, you may be thinking 3 weeks, holy cow. But if you've been in plants for a while, you realize that they're on like tree ent time, and they take a lot of time to grow and decide what they're going to do. So this is actually really good growth. I would call this a fairly good grower, maybe even a fast grower, for putting out so much foliage and fully rooting in 3 weeks. Like, that's pretty good. This is a philodendron silver sword. It also had thrips. It was a fun time. It lost a lot of leaves on the main stem. It's also been chopped and propped quite a bit, so the base has grown out a lot of different new growth, and it's actually starting to become kind of a trailing plant. I don't like that. I want it to size up. I just haven't put forth the effort. These leaves are so beautiful. They'll become giant spear-shaped leaves if you allow them to grow up, and it's just really cool. So we'll have some more nodes to prop from this main vine, but I'm definitely going to be propping this whole thing. I will be propping this back in the pot. This top cut is going to keep on sizing up beautifully, hopefully, if the thrips are gone. I'm just going to kind of shuffle this over. It needs a whole repot, but I am not prepared to do that today. I know, I see the roots sticking out. This is not responsible plant parenting. I am totally aware. I apologize. But I definitely do want to just get this sizing up a little bit and get it climbing. We'll repot it later. I'm waiting for some supplies to come in. And I'm going to give it a different pole to climb. I don't want it to do that. I think I'm just going to give it wooden boards and do it that way. It's a little bit more sturdy, and that's why I'm just shuffling pots so that I can have the space for the boards. It is going to require 2 boards, so if you give me just a second, I'll make that happen. And this is just going to be easier. And the philodendron silver sword's actually doing really well as well. It's fully rooted in the pot. It does have one that needs a little bit more moisture. I don't know if that hasn't fully rooted, but all the other ones seem to have fully rooted in here. And then this is dry. I do need to water this again today. So there is that, but it's got new growth pushing up top. Everything's doing good, and I'm just going to keep on pinning it, and then hopefully it'll size up a little bit. Eventually I'll get it a moss pole, but we're just rolling with what we got right now. So some beautiful new growth on the side here, and I mean, it's got some leaf loss. It's not fabulous, but it's doing better, and I think it's only gonna get better now that it's getting some love and attention. So hallelujah. And yes, everything looks different back here because I have moved plants back in, which is what reminded me to do this update for you guys. So Syngonium white butterfly. This used to be a beautiful bushy plant for me, and then it got root rot, it got thrips. I had this plant for years, and then after the thrips hit it, it became a struggle bus plant, and I've just been constantly trying to prop it and have it grow again, and we'll see. I just left it alone and neglected it for a while, and now it seems like it shot off all of these different new growths, which is awesome. This whole stem has died, though. You can see how it's all wrinkly, and it looks almost like human bones. It's very creepy. Definitely appropriate for October, but ugh, I don't like it. And this one little end piece looks like it might actually do something, but we'll see. I'm going to cut right above this new growth because I want that to keep growing. And then you can see, just look at that. And it's dry and brittle, and it's weird. They do that when they're in low humidity. If they suffered complete root rot, they'll kill off portions of the stem as well as the leaves. And there's nothing you can do. It's not salvageable. So this one is kind of salvageable. You can see that there's some new growth that started to come here, and then this one as well. But because it's already shown that it's very dehydrated, I don't know if I can bring these back. These are probably going to rot. And then this, I am just going to give it a tiny board. This is just a shim that you can get at the paint store for like $1.99. And I'm just going to use that to kind of prop it to keep it sizing up. And I'll use tomato tape. I'm going to use a long piece of tomato tape because I know I'm going to have to keep coming back and just chopping the tomato tape and retaping over and over again. So I'm just going to have it all here in one area. And then if I did decide to do like a bigger board or something, this would be here already as well. I wouldn't have to chase down the tomato tape. It's just like a time saver for me, but each to their own. And this looks so much better, and it's going to fill in really nicely. I could have it trail, and if you put it on a board and have it climbing up, then the leaves are going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to have the most beautiful lobes. Here is the Syngonium white butterfly 3 weeks later. It has pushed out new growth. So far, it's doing really well. It's got a bunch of new growth points as well on top of new leaves that have completely unfurled. Looks like it has spider mites again, so we'll just have to treat for those again. Spider mites is just one of those things where you just have to keep on top of it, keep treating it, and Syngonium in my environment just seem to really love spider mites. I have a bunch of Syngonium. I just don't ever show them because they always have spider mites. So we're gonna break the cycle on that. And I'm just gonna show you them anyway. So, but this is a Syngonium white butterfly, and it was doing really, really well. It can get big and beautiful and bushy. I had it really nice for years, and then I just neglected it when I moved over there. But so far, this is actually doing really well. I am liking how well this is growing, and then I have it right under here for the new setup, and I'm hoping with the light, and then if I keep on top of it with spider mite treatments, it's going to be big and lush and beautiful, and this whole little section is going to be stunning Syngonium. This plant is either a beautiful dream or a freaking nightmare of a plant. This is Philodendron brantianum, and I love them all full and beautiful and gorgeous, but they do really weird things, and they don't like to cooperate. And I just, like, why would you climb up it in it? And just, but it doesn't size up. It needs very, very high humidity to size up, and it's just a picky plant. So I think I'm going to give up on the pole situation here. I don't have any more patience for it, and I can't keep up with the watering to make it a high humidity situation right now. So we're just gonna get rid of that, and we're just gonna chop and prop and make it bushy because it looks gross now. These plants can be absolutely gorgeous, but even people who live in Florida and have a greenhouse struggle with this plant. So if you have this plant and it's doing terrible for you, please don't feel bad. Even in ideal conditions, this plant just hates life. I don't know. Like, please let me know if you have learned some trick with this plant, because short of shoving it in a humidity terrarium, it just is not happy. And then it grows so quick when it is in a terrarium that it sizes out of it. So I'm just going to prop this. It's going to go on my shelf, and the way this pot is situated, I'll have water in the base and it'll make a high humidity situation around the roots. And I just make sure to have one leaf and one little stem. I've gotten really good at propagating this plant. Like, so comfy, I'm just going to prop it in the soil like this. But, I mean, it's just a pain plant. It's so pretty, though. Like, the leaves are irresistible. I just, who can resist those? With the silver, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So I'm hoping this becomes like a big, beautiful trailing plant. I don't know, we'll see. And this is the Philodendron brantianum 3 weeks later. So far so good. It's got tiny new growth. It looks like it might still have some pests, but it's not going down to them. New growth is going to be smaller because it's not climbing. Also, this is one of those really finicky philodendrons that needs high humidity to really start to size up. So I would have to set it in my big terrarium, which I am not planning on doing because it's like a pest magnet. But so far, so good. I mean, if I could just get it to be kind of a full pot up top and then maybe start to put it on a pole or something and then stick it next to a humidifier, maybe that'll be enough. But I don't have high hopes for this plant just because it is a really, really picky plant. If you're going to get this plant, I would suggest getting it as a larger one and then just let it size itself down in your care until you get tired of it sizing down, and then I don't know, maybe trade it to somebody else who has patience and get a bigger one. I don't know. It depends. And if you want a project plant, Philodendron brantianum is totally it. Or if you have high humidity conditions, then this is going to be great. It does not do super great in just a natural like 50% humidity, which is what I have here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see how I moved all my plants outside, I have a previous plant blog. You can go ahead and check that out. I also have a plant blog coming soon on moving all of these plants back in. This is not even all of them. I have more to move in. So that's coming soon as well. Make sure you subscribe to check those out. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!